Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to be doing this marking period, like our units and our themes we're going to be covering, as well as your first assignment we're going to look at. So here on our Weebly page, if you scroll down, you're going to see that the anchor text that we're going to be covering this marking period is Lord of the Flies. And the topic is evil. If you scroll down here a little bit, I'm going to skip that video because that's what you're watching right now, and talk to you really quickly about the themes and essential questions. So the main themes that we're going to talk about are adapting to change in times of crisis, because if you remember, our whole umbrella for the entire year is using forward thinking. In this particular unit, we're talking about forward thinking in times of crisis. And then our second theme is evil, nature versus nurture. So there's a little bit of philosophy actually in this unit as well. That concept of nature versus nurture, what they're exploring in Lord of the Flies, the reason the author wrote it, like his intent, was to get people thinking if evil is something that is born inside of us and in some people, and it's just kind of waiting to surface and like rear its ugly head. Or are we not born with any evil at all, and it's kind of brought on by exposure to society? So that's a topic that philosophers have been discussing for centuries, and it's something that this unit gets into a little bit. Okay, under that it says forward thinking is an important component in adapting to change and making decisions. Kind of ironic that we're talking about this right now, fourth marking period during this pandemic, but we're going to talk about it under a couple of different contexts, like in a time of crisis of a plane crash, which happens in the novel, and we're going to talk about 9/11 a little bit, which is what your first assignment is going to cover. So it says, being able to adapt to change and making decisions that support positive change are important in each of our lives, especially during times of crisis. Like sometimes a negative outcome is unavoidable. No matter what, it's going to be bad. However, there are things you can do to maybe lessen the blow or make it so it's not so severe, which goes into the next bullet that says sometimes we need to risk failure for possible success, right? A lot of times we learn more from our failures than we do from successes. So failing is sometimes inevitable, but again, it's what kind of decisions can you make? What kind of forward thinking can you use so that failure isn't quite so tragic? Also, we're going to be reflecting on times or situations that require making a change using forward thinking. And again, specifically, those times and situations we're going to talk about are usually in times of crisis for this unit. And then finally, it says identify and explain the elements, traits, and characteristics necessary for making successful changes. Like what kinds of traits can we develop, what elements are involved, our line of thinking and stuff like that that goes into making positive decisions, moving forward in a positive way after times of crisis and even during them. Okay, all right, so in this unit, like I said, guys, we're going to read the novel Lord of the Flies. What I'll do is I will read the chapters for you for the most part, and you will have a couple of choices. You can either just follow along and listen to my readings, or you can get the text yourself. Like I will have a link up. It's public domain because it's classic literature, so I'll put a link up to where you can find the chapters in the novel, and you can either read them alongside, you can read them at your own pace and choose not to listen to me, or as I'm reading it, I'll have the text up on the computer, so I'll literally be showing you the pages as I'm reading them. So you just choose what works best for you as we're reading that. As we read those chapters, every once in a while you'll have an assignment that goes along with those chapters. And that's basically the gist of it, guys. That will take us to the end of the marking period for the most part. There are some video clips that I have linked up here for you guys that you might want to watch. I'll link up the whole movie here afterwards, but it's a black and white movie. Good, true to the story, but you know, it's not like a best quality movie, let's say. So I put some of the most important scenes linked up here for quick little video snippets if you're interested in watching them after we read the book. But that's like the gist of it, you guys. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to be posting your assignments here. So let's talk about your first assignment, you guys. So if you're on our English 11 homepage, our English 11 page under the tab, fourth marking period, online learning, you should be right here on the screen I'm looking at. So you see here how I said you have assignment number 1. Okay, and I told you there are 3 steps to this assignment. I just put that up there because I want you guys to kind of watch for the directions in it and make sure you're not skipping any steps. So the first step says to watch this video that you're watching right now. And then these are the themes and essential questions we just went over. And then it actually starts right here. Okay, so for this assignment, I'm giving you 2 options. It says option A is to watch the movie World Trade Center, which we're going to talk about in 1 second. There's a trailer for it right under here. If you scroll down, here's the trailer. And then you're going to respond in a paragraph, or you can do bulleted points, it doesn't matter, to this question right here, where it says once you finish the movie, respond to examples that the officers that were trapped made while they were trapped under the rubble during 9/11. Once you watch the movie, that will make more sense to you. If you cannot watch the movie, or you're choosing not to, or you can't access it, or whatever, you do have a second option for this, because I know not everybody might have Netflix, Amazon Prime. You don't want to fork out $3 to watch it on YouTube, although it's a great movie and your family would probably enjoy it too. So it's a really good movie, you guys, which we'll talk about in a sec. But if for some reason you choose not to, you can do option B, which is doing a web search. So you're going to search 9/11 survivors or firsthand accounts from 9/11 and come up with a couple of survivors' stories, and then you're going to complete that chart or assignment that I have linked up right here. And then for the last part of it, it's how you submit it. So you're going to submit it in Edmodo. When you go into Edmodo, you guys, you will see where I created the assignment. It'll say assignment number 1. Upload your chart or submit your paragraph responses here. And that's all you got to do. When you go to that assignment, it will say something like turn in or submit assignment, and you can either upload or you can copy and paste, whatever works best for you. You want to try and get that done by Monday, you guys, this coming Monday, which is the 20th, because then I'm going to roll out your next assignment for you guys. Remember, you should be checking for assignments every Monday and Wednesday at 12:30 to 3 o'clock. Anytime in between there, just check in. The assignment shouldn't take you that long, and there won't always be an assignment posted on Monday and on Wednesday. There might only be one assignment for the entire week, but you just want to check back in to make sure you're not missing anything. If we're going to Zoom, you can get into the Zoom, or if you have questions, you can ask them, whatever. So just make sure you're checking in Mondays and Wednesdays, 12:30 to 3, to see if there's any new assignment posted for you for that day or that week, okay? So let's talk about this movie really quickly so I can kind of get you into the whole 9/11 thing. So as you can see, Nicolas Cage, I couldn't think of his name there. Nicolas Cage is in this movie. William C. Pena is in this movie. This is a really good movie, you guys. The first thing I will tell you is that it is a true story, okay? It is based on the lives of these guys who work for the Port Authority. The Port Authority is basically like the police officers down by the World Trade Center, because they have so many ports in and out, so they kind of they're the police for down in that area, okay? So they get called out on 9/11. A lot of the footage you see in here is real footage from that day. You'll see some newscasts that really happened on that day. Oliver Stone directed this film. Oliver Stone, he's a classic. He did a lot of good stuff, you guys. He did Platoon. He did Born on the 4th of July. He's he's a great director, and he's got a lot of good footage in here. The thing about this is they wanted to keep it as true to the storyline and the characters and what really happened on that day as possible, to make sure that they were honoring them correctly and everything. In here, you see a lot of like chaos happening. You have to remember the year that this happened, you guys, which is 2001. And I want to say you guys are the second class or so maybe that wasn't born, like you're pre 9/11 babies basically. And so you guys never lived in a post, you only lived in post 9/11 America, because before that things were a lot different. We weren't always scared and paranoid about like terrorist attacks. So when this happens, like the planes flying into the Twin Towers, nobody really knew what was going on at first. And because there's so much chaos and we weren't really worried about terrorists, they originally thought it was a commuter flight, which means like a passenger plane that just like lost control of it. And for some reason, whether their navigation system was off or they didn't have control of the controls, for whatever reason, they thought they just accidentally went into that tower and hit it. And then they sent out all the police officers and the first responders and everything to kind of go down and take care of what's happening. Well, in the meantime, we've since come to find out that a second plane goes into the towers, and it was intentional in a terrorist attack. But when you're watching the movie, they don't know that, and you as a viewer are like, oh, come on, how did they not know that was happening? Or how did they not know this is a terrorist attack? Or why aren't they thinking about what really the problem is here? And again, it goes back to the year. First off, you got to remember, technology wise, we didn't have cell phones, and everybody wasn't equipped like that. So they're trying to communicate via radios, and they're going in and out, and they're getting their intel basically from news helicopters that just happened to be there when the first plane went in. And because the news helicopters are there, they see live action. Like, I remember watching the Today Show, and you watched live that second plane come in and go into that second tower. That was crazy. But the police officers and first responders had no idea, and that's the crazy part. So they didn't know, should they go in, what's happening? Somebody is telling them there was a second plane, and they're asking their headquarters, and headquarters is like, no, the news is reporting that, and it's a false story. So people actually started leaving the towers. If you guys remember this, or you've talked about it in other classes at all, people started evacuating the towers, but they told them there was no problem and a second tower wasn't hit, so they went back into work, and that's when things went really bad. So this movie, like I said, is based on, it is the story of these first responders that went in. So it's a really good watch, you guys. So watch it and then respond if you can. If you can't watch it, then just choose option B. But it is a really good storyline. All right, guys? So go ahead, get that on your watch list, complete that quick assignment that goes with it, and then check back next Monday and Wednesday for your follow-up assignments. Remember, if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to shoot me an email, shoot me a remind. Remember, office hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you can message anytime and I'll get back to you guys. See you soon.